that was published, it has a few items. In Section A are the items that'll take up some time and are considerably sensitive and important to go over today. The items on B will be equally important to think about going forward. If we don't get to B, we'll reschedule for those items. So I'm going to start out and let you know that today is about transparency in the city, unpacking some events that occurred over just over 2-day, almost 3-day period of time. Really, a 24-hour period of time. The events, 3 instances or events occurred, and then our actions in a 2 or so day period of time. I have said before and will say now, citizens have the right, the fundamental right to public safety. Citizens also have a right within that promise, and it's a sacred promise of the state or of government, if you will, in this case a city, that fundamental safety, public safety, be delivered constitutionally, which is to say with fundamental fairness and due process. And that's a hard stop. I'm going to just say it one more time. Every citizen has the right to fundamental right to public safety, and within that sacred right, all of what these guys do and all of what government does has to be delivered constitutionally. When we give the power of the people to men and women who have the power within that to physically restrain us, it is a grant of power subject to rules. And it is not a taking of power by those. People who wear a badge and a uniform don't take or arrogate that power to themselves. You give it to them in an exchange, a contract, if you will, that in exchange for them having the right to put their hands on you, arrest you, commit what would otherwise be a battery, if not for that legal consent that they can do it, it would be a problem. And so with that awesome power that society gives, it comes with those rules I just talked about. And I would go a step further. I would say it comes with a relationship of trust. So any actions by those we entrust with that security outside of the limits of normal due process are intolerable. They have to be held intolerable by all of us, except in those instances where we might define a certain level of civil unrest or war or riot or terrorism. Those rules of putting your hands on folks are very circumscribed and must be. And therefore, those in charge of retention and discipline for our officers, if they do anything out of line, means that we have a duty to get it right. Let me be clear about that. You have a duty to get it right before something wrong occurs, to prevent things wrong from occurring. But if they do occur, and they do, then those in leadership who are in this room, all the way down to the guy standing by the door, have a duty to get what occurs next right. And part of that duty in the modern time has shifted. If you think about what these guys in the media do, the challenge of the modern era is getting it out versus holding what information you need to still investigate. And all of you guys know best that is a different thing today. People clamor for good reason and want videos out and all of those things quickly. We also live in a society where people on the street have it. So you might have a piece of it and not all of it, and that also forces an even bigger clamor for that information quickly. We also know on the other side of that, the worst side of it is, if government were to hold information that it does not need to continue to hold under the guise or theory that you got to let us finish all of the investigation before we show it, in some cases true, but in other cases not true, that is a lack of transparency. And the sooner you can get all of the information out without hurting an investigation, the better you are. Can we all agree that those are the rules of the game today? We may be criticized for what we're going to put out today because some people may not think it's as serious as maybe you're sitting here thinking it could be today, because the injuries aren't significant or something else. And to that I would only say, the interventions you do today are the things that stop the worst situation tomorrow. And I think what you will see as this comes out over the next few days is it is very serious. But luckily very isolated in a short period, luckily involving only 2 officers, and luckily handled quickly by the leadership of this department. So, in short, look, I want to go back and say this too. I've been a civil rights lawyer my whole life, still am technically. I've successfully defended officers from unlawful attempts to terminate them by this city. I'm going to say that again. I have personally defended law enforcement personnel from actions by the city of Alexandria to take their jobs, in my opinion, unlawfully, successfully. And some of them are in leadership today, thankfully. And I've also been on the other side of officers in lawsuits against them as a civil rights lawyer, and I've also championed their cause now as mayor. So if you think about that circle, it's kind of full. But the biggest honor of them all is today as mayor. So this isn't going to be a fun day for either of us, but it's necessary, and it is part of it, and it is still the honor of my life to serve and defend what these guys do every day. Thank you, no matter what. We have a problem, we're going to fix it, but we're going to do that together. In short, I love my department and the capacity I see in them, even when some, not most, when some fall, in this case, woefully short. Not only have I never been a defund the police guy, which isn't even a thing, by the way, it's not even a thing. I would say the opposite occurs here. You think about how to fund more things better, train better, and always keep going up. It's not the opposite. It's what can we do more? A couple of the officers here outside of the rank that is in the room, which are the 2 top guys, Deputy Chief Cooper and the Chief of Police, Chad Gremion, served when I first came in on a strike force to look at things to make things better, because they are, in fact, leaders. I took a lot of advice from them. We met intensely in those first few weeks. By February of 2023, coming in proper, I guess you'll say, in December of 2022, we were well on our way and well on the run to implementing changes that I both promised in a campaign for this office and which were requested by them and others. And we accomplished together a record-setting equipment purchase model, and all of you know that who pay attention. We assumed, that is, the city assumed all of APD employee contributions to their benefits, and I wrote executive orders personally to make the increases to all those benefits. We also created upward pay adjustments, and we made a lot of leadership change across the board. I'm proud of that. Alexandria, like many cities, suffers from critical shortages in available commissioned officers. Like many cities, doesn't work, though. You can only be about the prescription for ourselves, for our city. After all, the other folks have to deal with that. You can't hide behind it's happening everywhere. You have to do everything you uniquely find you can do to make it better in your city. So, with that said, those executive orders involved a lot of things like retaining a retention policy, a recruitment policy. But it was all balanced against getting the most competent and best officers. Rules, if you will. We run psychometric tests. We do a lot of things people aren't aware of to hire here. Not everybody does it. In fact, a lot don't do it, but we do. And one of the things that was declared a national challenge when I first came back, I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors in January of 23, was this recruitment and retention issue. And ironically, in fact, I called Stephen Maxwell from the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and you don't remember this, but you interviewed me from there, I believe, when I was back before you left KLB. And I was in a hotel room talking to him about how excited I was about all the things that I saw were new things happening, and that I got to see Charles Ramsey, who many of you know has always been sort of my police hero, and a guy I think brings the best practice. In fact, I think I told KLB and I told others, one of the mayors at the conference said that he personally, and this wasn't for everybody, again, you have to be your unique prescription. He personally diverted all of his recruitment dollars solely to hire pay for existing officers, as opposed to getting new ones. So his problem was solely retention. Our problem is retention and getting new. We could never do that plan that way, but it was notable. I see Deputy Chief Bradley is here too. So all three of the top leaders are here. The actions then and the actions that I've taken with my chief now over the last few days have always been with Charles Ramsey in my head, thinking about what he would say and thinking about things he said, even personally when I met him. And what I think you're not going to hear right from the media until they dig in, and I suspect some will, is you keep being told this magic number of officers down or some number you can get to. And if you want to talk to Charles Ramsey, what he told me personally from here to here is you're never going to see, I asked him, you're never going to see where you were in the last half decade, 3 years, 4 years. No one will. And I said, well, Chief, I may have called him Commissioner, he's been both. How do you know that? How do you say that? And he just said it's going to be very unlikely in departments. You guys are going to have to think differently. You're going to have to civilianize things, and y'all hear me talk about that a lot. You're going to have to get into the tech side of policing where your force multiplication comes from drones, cameras, all kinds of other things. And, of course, that's all true. Today is about showing you some challenges we face of data you don't get. Like, I don't think any of you knew that we've hired or put in the academy since I've come back 23 officers. 23. You don't ever hear that from anybody. But if you remember what I was telling you, Charles Ramsey said and others, and I said this in February of 2023. I want you to go back and you can read my executive order. I predicted then that the gains you would make would not exceed the losses for the next few years. Retirees and discipline changes that we would bring about. And that was right. So I didn't promise that it would exceed. I said the opposite. In writing, it's in my transparency tab online, always has been. Right there, you can date stamp it any way you want. So those meetings with them, we come out in February of 23, we do the executive order. The prediction was we're going to lose to different forms of attrition more than we'll gain. We brought in 23, we've lost 36 over that same haul to now. So when you're told we're not making the hires, that's not true. We're making the hires. But the rate at which we see loss has been tremendous. And no small amount of that has been discipline. A change in what, not a change, going back to what we won't tolerate. So you're going to hear from the chief about those instances and this today. It's not going to be many, thankfully. And the use of force deployed inappropriately in those cases is not going to be as grave as you've seen in other places, thankfully. But remember, today is about stopping that from ever being the case we report to you. It's about stopping that. We debated long and hard on doing this. You know, half the time you have to go through an exercise, Deborah, and you have to think about what. So this is going to be a negative. So what if someone out there who's pro-police sees this and says, why are you even doing this? It didn't warrant this. I get that. But the things we know are coming down the road from this, and he'll talk about it, for example, turning it over to another agency to investigate, they'll have an announcement. And then how do we look to these guys if we didn't own it first? He made the decision to send it to a third party. Third party didn't do it. This didn't come from a citizen complaint. This came from our internal process that caught it. These are things you need to know. This is stuff working even while being very unhappy that it occurred. "23 officers, 36 in the same period we've lost, ultimately, in some cases, to the ultimate discipline." And we're going to go on, I'm going to turn it over to Chad, the chief, we're going to go back and forth a little bit, but let me tell you that I've told many of you in the room, and you know this, all of my officers do. On discipline short of termination, I'm not involved. Whatever is brought to me, I trust that my leaders know what they're doing. And the commissioner knows that. In theory, if somebody were getting that maximum, guys, if you were getting 90 days and someone said, we really want you to look at it, of course, there could be a one-off in theory where it's that serious, or someone else comes and says, I think they're being too hard or not hard enough. But generally speaking, I do not look, Mr. Villard. I sign what I'm presented. I read the final conclusory paragraph and sign it just to make sure names match and all that. But if someone is being terminated, police, fire, or any employee of the city of Alexandria in the classified service who is terminated, I read every document attached, everything involved, and question why are you getting to the ultimate punishment? I make them prove a mini case to me first. I will not take a man or woman's job short of that. So as the appointing authority, if it's a termination, I'm going to look. In this case, I was brought in rather immediately, and we'll get into the why. So in light of that background, we lose officers to improper officer actions too, and that's painful. And that's what the chief and I are going to outline to you today about how those challenges mix with some good data some of you got from me today. We'll talk about that good data and some things we're going to do. But today is about being unvarnished, full and complete transparency, full and complete responsibility, in short, disclosure and immediate action. Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to speak on to public safety updates, obviously, and constitutional policing and zero tolerance behavior and some things that have occurred within our department over the last 2 weeks. Last week, 2 of my officers were provided pre-termination letters for their response to 3 unrelated calls involving unrelated people for service, calls for service last weekend, or the last weekend of July of 2025. These were 3 distinct incidents that occurred, as the mayor said, over a 24-hour period. I personally had the mayor informed. I asked him to come to the department to meet with me and the leadership on July the 30th of 2025. I did this in accord with my policy to inform him of certain events like the one involving the improper use of force, and because I knew that it was serious enough that I needed to involve him for his knowledge and for his advice. I placed these officers on administrative leave on July the 30th, 2025, 2 days after the incidents occurred and immediately upon learning of the incident. After reviewing these 3 incidents that I believe violated not only departmental policy, infringed on the civil rights of individuals, and potentially constitutional criminal conduct, I also referred this matter to the Louisiana State Police Criminal Investigations Division for their review. I tasked LSP with the trust that they will conduct a thorough and independent investigation and that their findings will be turned over to the proper prosecuting authorities. I can inform you, the people, the citizens of Alexandria and those that come here every single day for work, for pleasure, or whatever, who we are entrusted to protect, that these instances were isolated and occurred over a short period of time. And I am confident when I say that. The mayor and I tasked our leadership group with a full review of past conduct over a significant period of time to ensure that this behavior was in fact isolated. Gladly, I was informed and happy to see that this was already being done by our leadership and our internal affairs. We must be accountable for our actions, and we cannot accept anything but the highest standards of public safety. As the mayor explained, and people do not realize the pressure he and our team are under, and how extremely challenging that it is to hire new officers, and now we would lose new officers. But, as the mayor has said many times, substandard behavior anywhere in the department is a threat to public safety in this city. Let me say that again. Substandard behavior in our department, anywhere in our department, is a threat to public safety anywhere in our city. This is our standard, which is set by executive order and my own personal moral code. Doing the right thing is in my DNA, and it is the only way to do it. I moved to terminate these two officers as soon as the investigation was over, and to continue the review of other personnel that were associated in this to determine if any other administrative or criminal violations occurred. Let me say this, what you'll see in just a moment, as the chief of police, I own it. It's my honor to lead this department. This is a department where I started in 1995, where I started my law enforcement career. And I could not be more prouder to be here. A city where I grew up, a city where I live, and a city where I raised my family. We had two bad apples. That doesn't make for a bad tree. We clipped the sour fruit off of that tree immediately, and we are here to be transparent about it, to ensure that transparency is where we're at and how clearly we are. We are here to provide public safety. That is our mission, and that is what we will continue to do.
Thank you, Chief. Let me just say that Chief Grimion did act with deliberation and haste. You don't always do that. There are times when you do need to take a much longer view and look at a bunch of data. We didn't feel that was the case. I started off explaining it's a new day and age. If you don't need it to complete an investigation, in this case, it's our own. So there was no need, then we're going to make it available to you immediately. And that judgment will be what it is. But you will see that we did this not only by the book, but are moving to do it transparently and quickly. I did say that to the chief. And obviously, for those of you in the room, I borrowed heavily from Dr. King on that statement, but substandard behavior anywhere in the department is a threat to public safety everywhere in the city. And that's the case. If you think about how it works, any seed growing into something more, germinating into a negative thing, can lead to problems. And it does in any division of the city, but it can especially happen in those tasked with high-risk preventive behavior, high volatile risk situations where people are talking tough, mad, violent, etc. But that just means that those guys have to be better, right? Because you know you're going to meet with that on the street. You have to deal with it. A top advisor of mine in the private sector reminded me that some people are going to they're going to think we need tougher policing. They may not agree with this, but why bring all this up if it didn't result in grave injuries? And that person reminded me that what I said earlier, an intervention here is necessary to avoid more serious things in the future. And people need to know, including our department, this is how we're going to deal with substandard stuff that is at this level. So let me tell you what I saw in response and what I see in other cities. You can't wait too long on action on items that can't change. I just said that. You can't wait too long. We're just in a different time. That dilemma for us has changed. I saw one happen when I first came back. You guys are familiar with this in the media, and many of you, if you do anything with law enforcement, you'll know sometimes they won't let out any part of an investigation till the autopsy comes. But do y'all know how long those can take in Louisiana right now? And even if you get the autopsy, they'll say we can't give even that until we complete the toxicology. Do you know how long that can take in some cases? So here we don't have those challenges, so we're going to do it. Another thing that happens, and this is often very frustrating to the public, officers have procedural due process. Public employees have procedural due process that require a host of notices and things to occur before you can take any action. And that can frustrate you in the media, and it can frustrate you as citizens that, why can't they just fire them? It's on tape, right? How many times have you heard that? Why can't they just, there are processes that have to occur. I would say in that process, this was done exceedingly quickly. Officers are entitled to appeal rights. You can remove them administratively. That's not the termination until that process occurs, and even then, there are additional rights. The notice you give them must spell out and justify the punishment, meaning the original notice has to be written in a way to justify that ultimate sanction of termination and spell out for the officers the evidence you have against them up front. Now, how many folks in the private sector, you don't deal with that, right? You're at will, you can be moved out. It's very different. The chief placed them on notice of the city of Alexandria's intent to terminate. He picked up the equipment, he executed on policy, and he did it right. I have questioned these guys, I've looked at it, always anticipating this day was going to come quick for us, the weekend of July 27 to now, and I'm satisfied he did that. What I was presented with APD leadership, I felt as the constitutional officer and appointing authority, I should summarize for you what I've seen, because one of the videos involves a hospital that we won't be able to give you. So I'm going to tell you some things to be looking at, and then we're going to play the video, and we'll have some more comments and answer questions. So again, what happened and when? 2 officers were placed on leave for actions that began July 27, right?
Yes, sir.
They did in fact occur, all 3 instances, by the same 2 officers over a roughly, actually under a 24-hour period, 19 if I recall. Is that correct? Good. The chief and I have talked about other personnel actions for officers not directly involved that could be subject to review. Not here to talk about that today. We have a system that caught things that we have put in place, and it did its job, which is a good thing, right? Didn't come from a citizen complaint, and it didn't come from the LSP. He sent it there. It came from our own system. So far, we're not totally happy with all the middle ground of that, but it was reported up correctly and the system caught it, and that's a good place to be. There's some teachable moments even within that too. I'll just leave it at that for now. My biggest issue is we lose 2 more officers. And, what you're going to see to me is it's a shock to conscience type deal. You don't want any police officers in the modern, at any time, but in 2025, some of this stuff is too easily avoided for it to be happening. The fact that it shocked the conscience of some of my leadership, knowing what I know they've seen, both as an attorney involved in their lives and what I know they've seen in military service and elsewhere, bothered me. So when I was hauled over to the station, Jim, you got to see this, I knew it was not going to be good. But I'm glad that I was there on the ground floor to offer advice and support, and that we would get through this, but we would do it transparently and right. So we've had these losses of officers to retirements, resignations, and discipline, but the ones to discipline, you just don't like to see. I gave you the numbers earlier, 23 versus 36. That'll put you in that 40 we've been talking about the whole time. You can see the problem right there. We'll be talking about later, not today, but I did put out on social media, and I will let you guys know, we're going to be talking about some outreach to Deborah, the governor, and others about here's how you could help. Look at our data. We're doing our job. We're making the arrests. We're changing our trends the right way. You'll hear that today. We have some very definite thoughts. If we all believe, I ran on this, that community policing is the gold standard, and that until you reach that again, you're never, ever at the gold standard, that's the best place to be. And you see the challenge we have in retaining, losing to discipline, losing to issue officers. We've got to think about, okay, look what we've done, other officials, other resources. We need you to deploy here. This will be the best and safest, and we've got to deal with some harder hitting areas, issues, and challenges. And I say that, and you may say, why are you saying it? Think about it. A week ago, I was planning to make this announcement. This was not, or a month ago, this was not going to be about this. This was going to be about showing you the good numbers, despite all the negative press we get, showing you the good numbers and announcing how we were going to go to the next level. So now, instead of that announcement, where I was going to proudly say, bring those resources in so I can deploy my best in true community policing and get the areas and neighborhoods most challenged back. If you're in the media or you're a citizen, you get to go, well, wait, why are you going to, y'all just had this issue. So it's even more important that you hear and see it all and see what it's not, so that you know that you can trust this department to deploy in those areas, because you can. And you know why you can? Because of what we're doing today. And that's a critical assumption we're making. This is a public health issue. You know that, right? Most cities declare it, but we have. Police shortages, all of these issues are declared public health issues. Just as you would some kind of epidemic issue, it's declared the same way. We have to treat it that way. So community policing is the paramount goal to true change. It's the best version of both preventive policing and solving crimes are there. I'm going to turn it back over to the chief to go through some more specifics. But again, at this transition point, I just want to say, I think these guys are doing what they're supposed to do, despite what you're about to see. And I think this is an example of us doing what we're supposed to do, not an example of us not doing it. You have two instances, and they were caught, and they're going to be acted on properly. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. So over the past few weeks and months, I've rode through the community and talked to a lot of business owners and a lot of people, getting a feel on how they feel and what they're seeing. And consistently, I hear from business owners that we feel crime is down. And I'm very happy to report these numbers today, Rob, Stephen, that these numbers are in fact down. These numbers that we're going to release today are straight from the department. We've looked at them. We knew they were down. Again, I knew that the men and women of the Alexandria Police Department were putting their uniforms on every day, every night, leaving their homes, working extra, doing what they needed to do to serve and protect this community. I never had a doubt about that. And it's proof. You've heard, numbers don't lie. And certainly I have them here. I'm going to go first. We're going to talk about some property crime. We have the data from January 1st of 2022 to December of 2024. Vehicular burglaries. We were getting tore up. Significantly not long ago.
Right before I was mayor again, my neighborhood was getting tore up, as you said, a lot.
My neighborhood was getting tore up. We're seeing a 11% decrease in vehicle burglaries. Aggravated burglaries, a 50% decrease in that. Unauthorized entries, a 45% decrease in that. Felony thefts, anything over $1,000 is a felony, a 13% decrease in that. And when you factor all of that together, our overall property crimes, double-digit numbers, 12% decrease in that. So nothing that I have in the property section is showing an increase. But perhaps I think it's a little better than that. We know that gun violence has plagued our city. We have made it a priority. It's been a tough challenge. But as I said this, or as I started this, I told you the men and women every day leave their families, go to work, and do what they signed up to do. It's a privilege and an honor for them to wear that badge. And I challenged them on gun violence. We went to roll calls. We worked with our detectives. We talked with our detectives. Gun-related homicides, 60% decrease. 60% decrease in gun-related homicides in Alexandria. Non-fatal shootings, a 41% decrease. Overall gun violence, a 46% decrease. And probably the most important thing, or second behind what I'll say, is overall homicides are a 53% decrease. I didn't make these numbers up. I didn't pull them out of a hat. These numbers came from the reports that we get and that we pull out of our system every day. But most importantly, I can report since 2022, we have a homicide solvability rate of 89%. The national average is a little over 50%. Our detectives, our guys, our officers, men and women are putting the time in, putting the resources in to provide closure to these families. And there's something to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that. As always, I had a conversation with a fellow chief earlier this week, and we all know that, and Mayor, we've talked about this, one incident can change these numbers pretty quickly.
Because of the size of the city. If you think our denominator
Right.
is small, right? They're based on 100,000, right? And we have to half it. So you can see small number changes in the numerator can greatly affect us because of our small denominator.
But listen, we're putting the work in with better technology, with better equipment, cutting edge technology that we are deploying throughout the city, thanks to the council, who have given us that ability and funded our budget. We're able to purchase this new and breakthrough equipment that I feel has given us a light and given us breakthrough to decrease crime and help solve crime. And I think we'll see, I hope, and I'm confident that we'll see more to come with that. We have some new things that are coming out as well, obviously that we're not going to discuss today, but I feel confident that we will see a lot of good things coming to our city. Certainly, I think people will say, yeah, well, this is a national crime, this is a national trend, and I attribute that, though, to law enforcement. I attribute that to the culture of the administration and where we're at and the resources we've been provided along with the council. And I think that we're seeing a city that is tired of crime. We are tired of the violence here. And together we have put force multipliers in to be able to turn us in the right direction.
Again, just making sure, I'm really a stickler about numbers when they get reported. I don't put them out until they prove it to me 10 different ways. The numbers you just had on the homicide, 60% decrease, are through June 2025. To illustrate the point on the numerator, we've had one or two, a couple of instances since. I would place through August that 60% down to 47. Still huge change. It's all we can do is compare them to our past, but I want to make sure if we have our best data through June, I can do the counting and I know through that. The problem is all of the other data is through June, so I'm giving you that on homicides.
So it's double digits in all categories.
And that's a measurement, guys. If you get double digits on anything, we just went from the idea with the school superintendent. I mean, that's what you're shooting. You're shooting for double-digit change, and this is 2 times double. These are all 20% of some of them and better. So this is real progress.
It is.
And listen, that's what it is. When people try to sell you that there's a plan by a person that ends crime, it ceases to exist in your city, that's just boneheaded, crazy stupid. This is a community issue. It's going to take a holistic approach, and it always was. And the root or sentinel causes behind crime are not something those guys can do. They're coming in after the fact, and they're coming in to make the arrest, the interdiction on the street. But what's happening when the arrest is made? What happens after that? These are all, you have to have everybody in the law enforcement stakeholder group working together. Judges, DAs, officers and investigators, policymakers, everything has to be working together. But if any one mayor or person had the solution to this, we'd have all bought that app long ago, and you would not have crime in America. I do think there's some trends, as you said, that are good. Not to call the airstrike in on yourself for your good data, but the thing about it is you see those trends when society gets those enough moments, and you start to see them. You have to look at all of this together. You could also be in the city that isn't making a change in trends when others are. So again, it takes your own prescription. You just have to do the work. Crime's not just stopping on a national level. It comes from intervention, action, and we're making the actions. All right. This is the challenging environment that you're trying to retain, hire, and bring police officers into. That you can have this issue, which no excuse for, but that you could also have issues where it is on the line, or people rush to judgment before the facts are in. All of those are reasons people don't want to be police. None of those are reasons that we can ever allow that our police aren't constitutionally policing. No hiring practice or forgiveness. Charles Ramsey told me this too. You cannot do that. You cannot relax how you hire to entrust people today with what we know. Badge and a gun today. You cannot do it. So it's never going to be a solution to just relax your hiring standards. I'm going to suggest to you, as this all unpacks, that I can draw the correlations there scientifically as well to hiring to those issues. That's what can lead to this. So that's never going to be our solution to this. I think what we should do, Chief, is play the tape, and I hope that it'll queue up right and we can do it. And then we'll have some closing remarks and some opportunity for a little Q&A, and we're running pretty good on time. There's a 4:30 meeting of the Civil Service? Okay, so we're okay. So let me just do a little setup. You're going to see the three instances. The first instance occurred at the Siegel Motel, my favorite place for activities, as many of you know, because I talk about it often in here. Siegel Management did a great job in this, as a matter of fact. I'll give them kudos. There's a gentleman in his room. There's a loud noise complaint. I think the allegation is he's playing his music loud, and his retort is, they're being loud downstairs, I'm drowning them out. Just as you get through this, we'll come back and talk about it again, but it doesn't justify what happens. But this one's not going to seem hyper serious. He's not going to get hurt. But there'll be nuance you'll have to see of entrapping this guy to then claim he committed a crime. It's totally inappropriate. And you'll be able to see that this could have led to something much more catastrophic. The second instance you will not see today, but we're going to go over it with you because it happened at a secure facility, mental health, involves juveniles and others. Also did not result in some grave bodily harm, but I think everybody, all of us who watched it, they consider that one the worst, but it involves a dry stun tase of a, I think, juvenile, 14 or 15-year-old girl that nobody can say was justified. But because of all the people in the facility, faces, healthcare providers and all, we can't show you that one. We're working on it. I'm just telling you guys, we're working on a way to blur it, do other things, and figure out how to provide it. It's going to take a minute. But we're going to figure out other ways to get you the proper information you can use on it. The last instance occurred at the Stick It's a person who, I think, unwanted person in the bar, probably told to leave by authorized folks to do so, didn't, considered a trespasser. I will tell you, I know from further looks into it, he serially does this. Again, doesn't matter in this case. What happened is not okay at all. So I'm going to let you guys watch it, and then we're going to unpack it. It may be hard for you to watch the first time and get some of the things we're saying, so we'll do that now. Thank you.
Alexander Police Department, open the door. Alexander Police Department, open the door.
I don't see you in my peephole. I need to see you.
Yeah, open the door and you'll see me.
How you doing?
Good. I don't need to come in. All right, so I'm Officer Butler, the Alexander Police Department. I'm here investigating a noise complaint. What seems to be the issue?
Do I need to go? Do I need to go?
If you want to go, you can go.
The noise complaint has been noise from downstairs, so I turn my radio on. And that's all I have to say. If you want me to go, I can get in my car and leave and take go somewhere to the hotel.
Fine with me, man.
I mean, it's up to you.
Well, this is the thing. If you don't turn the music off,
okay. Well, I've told them about complaints, and I'm not gonna do this with you guys. If it's a problem where you feel like I need to go, I can get in my car and leave, sir. It's no problem.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Get the band notice.
Get the band.
Oh man, I can't.
I'm not dealing with this dude. I'm not arguing with him.
I'm in my bed as you can see.
It doesn't matter. Get your stuff. Let's go.
Okay, give me the bandos. Why I'm leaving?
You've been told to get off property, have you not?
That's all you have to say.
All right. Next is gonna come cuffs if you don't hurry up. Let's go.
Oh no, you can't even say hurry up.
Hurry up.
When I get my
Hurry up. You on my time now. You get me called here, you on my time.
now.
We ain't on your time.
Okay. Okay. You got that.
Yeah, I do got that.
And I got the.
That's why they sent me, because I'm the one. I'm the one.
I got rights.
I know. Put your hand down. Put your hand down. Don't you put your hand in my face. Get your and get the out.
You got it.
I'm not the one to play with.
How you saying it?
If you break the TV, you're paying for it.
Close to it.
I don't give a if you break the TV, you're paying for it.
You know everything you saying, you're retarded.
I don't give a dude. I tried to be nice to you, but you had to come with that damn attitude.
I don't want you to be nice to me.
Well, that's over with. We can't be friends. We can't be friends. That's over with. Get out.
We ain't gonna never be friends. I pay money. You know what's another trip. Definitely not a problem. 9862, your code.
We're getting there.
And when I get my stuff to my car, I try and get both of y'all names, please.
It's Officer Butler, badge number 590. There you go.
Hey, I got it.
Yeah, cool.
On fire, Jack. How's on fire? The stove is off. Okay, that's all. There's no light on. The stove is off. Yeah, we ain't gonna do that one. hand numbers. Oh, I'll be in the hand numbers. That's not right.
Ain't tough, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Sorry I had to go like this.
Yeah, I hate it for him. But, I made a report for him come here to claim that I'm messing with overly.
We don't care. We don't care. Just pack your stuff. Let's go. You can do it without talking to us.
Oh, there ain't no lawsuit gonna be filed. Excuse me. Can I get an arm room, get in my refrigerator so you won't stay on the trial? Your camera on. Excuse me. You gonna treat me like not like a man with a right and you breaking the law? Okay. What I can do? I got stuff in my hand. What? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I did not do anything.
Whenever you push your way into an office, that is called a battery. That is called a battery.
No, I got two.
You knocked this camera off.
No, I did not, sir. Sir, I did not knock
Good
it.
thing my camera recorded the whole thing. Congratulations. Here's your camera back.
Sir, I did not knock that man. You know this is not right. I did not.
White male, juvenile, Clifton.
All right, so that was the whole first incident. There's a lot more time in the car. What you don't see is he was asking about his property. He had a phone. He had a DD-214, which is important, and other items that the officers threw away. They threw that in the trash. He remains in control the entire time he's in the car. He's asking them questions, getting it on film in the car. And then some of you could look and say, he committed no crimes. I hope everybody sees that. I can't say if he disturbed the peace. I can't say if he disturbed the peace earlier with music or whatever, but the things you may not have caught were when the officers were standing by the refrigerator, he clearly sees that he's being crowded. It's obvious that he sees what's happening. That's why he says, "Excuse me," those times, because he knows if I open the door of the refrigerator and I have an unwanted touching, he's aware. You may not, you'd have to watch it as many times as we have, but where you then can confirm that, I would say, is the touching on the way out. You can see that he's trying to make room. He's holding all of that. He's not been given the permission to come back, and the officer is in the doorway. I will let you decide if you think that's battery on an officer to place yourself in a position where something is touched, and then you claim that. So there's no beat down or anything like that. That's why we cut it off where we did. I will just tell you the events escalate. So if you're seeing this one, this is the low event. This happens in this short period of time. But for two officers, it's an escalatory evening, if you will, instead of a de-escalatory evening. And so that was the first. Look, I can't substitute the judgment. There's all kind of things that happen. I mean, there's things that you can look at about it, rubbing your hands, doing your gloves, all that stuff. I would just say, you see what it is, and none of us believe that was criminal behavior, that it warranted what occurred. Some might even say the guy handled himself pretty well under the circumstances. So that's incident one. Incident two, we would say, is going in a facility, giving it in the light most favorable to the officers. If the officers are told they're going into a facility, it's on a lockdown, there's been a riot, you can have an officer walk into that in an escalated sense of awareness, if you will. If you then go into the facility and you see that it is de-escalated already, that should bring you down. While we can't show you that one until we can figure out how to edit or do more, it is, a buzzer going off the whole time. So you've got the alarms going off when a facility goes off. If fire alarms are pulled, doors are allowed to open so that people could, so it's a mess in there, but it's not a mess that in any manner warranted the dry tase event, according to our use of force experts. I believe that is me, but I'm saying this as someone relying on people who are experts at this, a few of whom are in this room. There's some academicians in this room who teach and understand that. So you're not getting the benefit of that. We promise you 100% transparency, so we're telling you that's what it has. There was no injury beyond the dry stun. We have not had one reported today, but we can't give you that because it would involve HIPAA and other violations. We will figure out how to further unpack it. So now you're at the last event in this run of rather, I suppose, roguish behavior, and this is going to pick up, I think, at the stick, Mr. Caffrey?
Yes, sir.
All right.
DOB is 9/20/2011. He's 5'9", 130 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Subject was last seen running away from home.
Hold on, man. Why's the store calling on you? Why are they calling on you? Time to go. Yeah, they're calling on you, man. We gotta go. You give me a ride? I got a dog. Really? I can get it. I just want to get bit by it. We'll get it done. Got him? Want to? Yeah, I want to look at it. All right, come on. Time to go, man. Off the property.
So he comes in and he says, you got to go. And you can see the guy roused too, and he realizes he's got to go. And the first thing he says is, can I have a ride? And he says, I got a dog, meaning it's a canine unit. And he says, for real? Like, I don't know what he's thinking. I can't substitute my, that's cool. I don't know what he's thinking, but for real. And so he says, so basically I can't give you a ride, he says, unless you want to get bit. So the guy is walking out. That's what is that exchange. It's just that simple. And then just pay attention to when they go to the door of what you think each person's sense of mind is at the time as they leave. He's asked for a ride, and he's now wanting to see the dog.
Right here in the back, yeah. My baby mom be looking for me. I don't give a you going to jail now, motherfucker. All you have to do is leave, you dumb My bad, man. I'm homeless.
That's it?
Second.
Yes.
DOB is 9/20/2011. He's 5'9", 130 pounds,
Different minute.
brown hair, brown eyes. Subject was last seen running away from Longleaf Hospital, wearing a green shirt and black shorts. Come in contact our notified headquarters. Headquarters clear at 2217.
The three runaway juveniles from Longleaf have been recovered by Sheriff's Department.
Off the property. did. I wouldn't open that door. Hey. Put your hands behind your back. I ain't doing nothing. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. I'm behind your back. Oh, you leave, dude. I'm sorry. Hey, hold on, man. My baby mom be looking for me. I don't give a you going to jail now, hey. All you have to do is leave, you dumb. My bad, man. I'm homeless, y'all. I don't give a all right.
All right, so again, you're missing the middle instance. He was hit, and he clearly had an injury, from what I can see later, some swelling, et cetera. I think he's been picked up even since. I think he has a history of trespassing and stuff like that, but you have to remember to separate those things. There are instances where what an officer knows going into something is relevant, and then there are instances where it's not. And another modern thing you have to remember is it's not always relevant if someone were on drugs or anything else to use that as an excuse if the behavior itself is still unconstitutional. So that's not the case here. It doesn't matter. You saw the guy presented no threat. I asked the chief if he wanted to handle this one. I can't. He wants to talk about something else with it. I can't tell you. You can see what you saw. And if you watch it many times instead of just the few times you've seen it, the picture that it looks like is that person was enticed into going to that car. And I don't know if you caught that, but the guy wants to go see the dog. Whether he should or shouldn't isn't the issue. There are things you don't know that we can't say because it's about the investigation, about the knowledge of whether there was any danger posed if he even tried to open the door, which there's no proof. You can't see from any vantage point that occurred. But people have defenses. They can mount those all they want. I think what the chief is about to tell you is what matters in this. Do y'all have any questions of me about what you saw? You didn't even explain it any more?
Was the officer who tackled him the same one that spoke to him inside?
So
Or was that a different officer?
there were two, one at the door, one inside. One of the officers you see pulling one off is not in the group being, okay? I'll say less down that, just, it is what it is, but he was obviously struck or pushed or hit the ground one way or another.
So the officer that pulled him off was the third?
Was a third officer.
And it was his vantage point that we watched second?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Everybody caught that? Yes? Look, this is again catching something before it's worse, but if you think of this in a 24-hour period and you think of the escalatory nature, I'll just ask you, just think about what interventions mean. This is when stuff is working that it catches as bad as that may be. We could be here in a lot worse situation. Probably wouldn't be happening in this room the same way. Be a different type of press conference with a lot of different things. But we're going to continue to unpack it for you. And, out of this, there'll be retrainers and things, but I want the chief to address whether this would ever be trained at all. And I think that's what you need to hear right now.
Yeah, so nowhere in my 30-plus years of law enforcement is this acceptable behavior. I was not trained this way. These officers were not trained this way. We have an exemplary training academy that is currently going on right now. I've been through 2 academies, and I've never been trained this way. I want to again reiterate that this is an isolated incident. This is something that happened over a short period of time that we caught. And there were many administrative policies that were broken here. And fortunately, we caught it when we did. But our officers, and I can say No officers are trained this way to engage in this type of behavior. It was uncalled for. This is a bad day for those that wear the badge. And as I said, I own it. I'm the chief. Those officers did work for me, but nowhere will I tolerate this type of behavior within the ranks of the Alexandria Police Department. I can assure you of that. So it's so isolated. I went back and looked at some numbers from our complaints that we had, and the use of force complaints that we've had, which I believe are 4, let's give it 5, in the past 2.5 years. All of those reports, there's been terminations handed out on those. Again, we believe in constitutional policing. I personally believe in constitutional policing, and this type of behavior will not be tolerated throughout my department. So,
Chief, I asked you earlier, in the one since I came back and appointed you, that we just listed ours, they all resulted in terminations. That's back to my point earlier of losing them while you're getting them. In those cases, did we have any reports of grave bodily injury?
no, sir. None of those terminations or those use of force were great bodily injury.
So we're in here today with you to ensure you see the trust that we hope these guys earn and that we can continue to maintain. There will be others in law enforcement who will see this in any other number of ways, and they're going to gossip and talk, and they're going to say they didn't even need to do this. Those guys, there's going to be, as you can imagine, any number of opinions about that. Let me just say why you do this. One, because we've got a challenge retaining and getting officers this directly bears upon. 2, it's the transparent thing to do. And 3, if you need the common sense part from all the criticism, Jim, of other public officials, this all comes out one day or another. These are public records. This isn't going anywhere. And it's a lot more important that we do this now than wait for other agencies, other people to try to trickle out or say we got to hold this or that. I just think that diminishes trust in the public. I think there's a ton of data out there on that, and I think that people will see a conspiracy behind every tree, and if you give them a reason to, they're really going to see it. And one of the reasons you can give them to believe that is don't come out and say what occurred. Don't come out and say it quickly. Legitimacy in policing is built by dealing with these problems, maintaining trust, and doing something about it. So here's what I want to end on with this. Inappropriate policing adds challenges to properly acting law enforcement. Inappropriate policing adds the most challenges to properly acting law enforcement. It becomes a danger to us all. Unconstitutional policing has profound effects on communities. Let's think back to Memphis and other places where the results were way worse than what you just saw. Erosion of trust, erosion of legitimacy of that whole trust relationship with the badge, increases in social tension, diminution of cooperation with other agencies. You can imagine other people, well, I can't work with them, they have these issues. All of those can be problems. Increased crime. How would this increase crime? Very easily. When you erode trust in the community, you call for street justice. You're going to get more of that because there's no trust to call law enforcement. And what does that result in? Well, that's really our biggest issue in beefing in these homicides. So it's directly related if you allow this to happen. Damaged relationships for all stakeholders that creates a cycle of distrust. There will be people who today think we did the right thing and tomorrow think this was the wrong approach, and that's going to break down trust too, and I know that. There's going to be people who agree with what we did today, the chief and I, and there's going to be the same people that over time will say they'll talk to someone at lunch, they'll go through it, and they shouldn't have done it this way, it should have been this way. That's all going to happen, and that's all going to be a cycle of dissension and mistrust, not caused by something the chief and I had to deal with today, but by the actions that should never have occurred. And that's kind of one of the problems, right, with this cycle of distrust is everything starts to have to look for some other place to pin the tail, when in fact, it's obvious what occurred. 3 events, they occurred over a short period. Here's what we're going to do to maintain your trust. We're going to remind you that not all officers are guilty of misconduct. Use data and community support to show the good of APD. Keep doing what you're doing, Melinda and everybody, LSUA, all of you. This is us trying to maintain your trust. I don't normally do stuff to the guys if they tell me something. I hate to do it to my guys over here, and I hate to name you, pal. But I just went over there to ask them, you're okay, right? I had those 2 guys watch it earlier so they could focus on you in the room and the security of this place and not be concentrating on that. And a guy that you all know well who's standing over there said the problem with this is it takes forever to build up our bank of trust. That account, it takes a long time, and a huge withdrawal was just made. I wish I'd asked him earlier. I might have just said, there's the whole thing and showed the tape, because that's about as best as I could ever have heard it said. And so now we have to go about filling that bank account back up. And so I would ask you to let this be some small part of that. This transparency be a small part, and not leave these guys out of your prayers and in your head about what they're doing right because of this. This is isolated, and it was quick. We also will continue and maintain your trust to not take additional time to investigate when it would not change the heart of the matter, as I keep saying. We're not going to sit on quote-unquote information while a quote complete investigation occurs in those matters where it would not change the result. We're going to make the decisions and changes required. We're going to hold supervisors accountable. We're going to learn from this incident and implement better processes if necessary. If good processes caught it, which appears to be the case here, we're going to reiterate and retrain on them immediately. This remains an active investigation. This is probably something you should say, not me, but we can confirm 2 things. The response to what is known was swift and based on clearly sufficient information to warrant what we did. We want to thank our agency partners. The state police has not weighed in yet. We don't interfere in that. We'll wait to hear from them, but I'm sure we will. And that completes what we wanted to disclose to you today. Yes, sir.
You said we have an academy going on now.
We do.
How many guys do we have?
So that's a very good question, and I think that plays in right along with what the mayor's talking about retention and about hiring. We hired 3, and on day 2 and day 4, we lost 2 of the 3. One to physical standards and the other to some personal issues. But we will continue to hire hard. We have one that's in the academy. We have another post-certified officer that's going to be coming on board very soon. Last week,
Pushing a lot of already posts come from other agencies. We have that bonus, pretty big bonus to try to get them.
yeah, a couple weeks ago, I reported to the mayor and staff that we had 4 new post officers coming, and then we turn around and we have an incident like this.
And lose 2. So
And-
that's 50%
Yeah.
delta on that. 4 new, 2 gone. 2 ranked officers.
Can you point out which officers were on administrative leave after those incidents?
But give you the names?
The names and which ones in the videos, and you could point them out?
Yeah, so I don't mind if you do whatever you're allowed to do. I think you're absolutely allowed to do that. When we're also going to give you, Stephen, we're going to take everything we just did, make it into a formal press release that's detailed and matches this, and then create those and give those to you within the next 2 days. We're trying to do tomorrow, but we've got some folks out who are key on it, so we'll do that, and you'll be able to match it. And if there's follow-up, you need to say, who's that and that, we can point them out.
The 2 on administrative leave, though, is it from the first?
They're not on administrative leave, they've been terminated.
Terminated from the first video and the second video?
It's the same 2 in all videos.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
How many hours have they been on board? Are they on shift? Before the situation?
They were on the same shift.
How many hours have they been working?
Anybody else have anything?
Yes, I have a question. You had a young lady by the name of Rose Taylor that was seen at the same Cecil Hotel that was being, she being.
So listen, we're going to
That-
take questions from media.
Yeah.
I'll take questions from KLB, and I'll take questions from Sinlaw Broadcasting.
So with these incidents, have any lawsuits come about targeting the city based off of these incidents?
Say that again?
Say that again?
Have any lawsuits stemmed from any of the incidents
No,
involving these officers?
No. Look, it's soon for that. I don't know if you caught earlier what we're saying. This didn't come from a citizen complaint, even the folks involved. This came from our own process that caught it. Ironically, we're the ones reaching out to folks I didn't go over that, but we actually have outreach to people involved that we see that we are already turning over to deal with it from our own risk management standpoint. So we're not waiting for them to have to lawyer up. We're man or womaning up on this all the way now.
And you mentioned that there could be other people involved. I know it's something you can't actually expand upon because it's an ongoing investigation. Is there any sort of extra information you can give on that? Is this, can you explain how many people is suspected to be involved? Is it strictly?
It's an administrative investigation. I'm not going to go into any more personnel issues or concerns on that. It's an administrative investigation that my internal affairs division is handling. And if there is any more, certainly we'll process that, but they're continuing their investigation. This was about these incidents right here and the two that we've already terminated. And
So the story doesn't become something it's not. It's not about other people. There's two officers that did this. The only mention I made is that if there are any supervisors that view something and are obligated to say it faster or something, we would look at that as a retraining thing. There's two guys involved in the discipline side of this. I appreciate the chief's answer. It's a textbook, good chief answer, but
Mr. Mayor,
that's the bottom line.
I have a question.
Any questions from KLB or Sinlaw Broadcast?
Oh, okay, you answered the question, sir. Good.
Good.
On the topic of LSP, how they're handling the investigation, is there any information on who is going to be following their investigation, as in who would be prosecuting? Is that something the city would be handling, or is it something like?
no, this investigation would be turned over to the district attorney's office.
And Mr. Mayor, can you define Curtis?
Any questions from the press here, Sinlaw Broadcasting or KLB? That's a self-evident.
On the topic of crime statistics, I know it was a two-parter on this, but on the topic of statistics, you mentioned that crime rates are down.
Yeah.
60%, I believe your number was.
Through June, gun-related homicides.
What is your current outlook on the trends that you're currently seeing?
Well, as I said when we were talking, I hate to be superstitious about that, but certainly that could change anytime. We don't have the crystal ball on where do we stop the next homicide at. I surely don't have it. The mayor doesn't have it. And if anyone does have it, I'd love for them to tell me. But I think with the work we're doing, I think the technology that we're deploying is the reason this is going down. And
Alexandria is ranked 6th in the nation.
So folks in the audience, the KLB question was, I think, what is the prediction on the trend going forward? So you can look at what has happened. You could look at whether they're related to specific interventions, which we've outlined in these briefings over and over, and tie them to actions as opposed to luck of the draw. And you have to keep deploying those things, and you have to hear from us about new things, new deployments of resources. When the media asks you to then give a prognostication about the future and anything goes wrong, that's not how it works in the criminal justice arena. What we have to do is keep deploying the things we know work over and over, do the things that have worked in the past, and do the new things that are out there that help us multiply the force available in these instances. Many of those things are going to be driven by technology, and we'll continue to do it. You're also going to have to kind of delve into his looking out in the future as you disrupt the gun predicate crimes, if you will, the same people being out there, out on probation or out on bond or whatever, as those get disrupted in a community our size, you, in theory, should and could see some diminishment even further into gun-related crime. That's what you want to keep doing. But that's the part that takes way more than the police department. That takes prosecutions, and I think you'll hear more for us on that next week when we do the briefing. We're going to talk a lot more about identifying those folks that we can show consistently they're going to keep doing the same thing over and over. We had a project called Project 50 years ago. It's coming back. And we are leading an effort to bring that into the highest level of best practice it can be. I've already started my meetings with the proper folks involved with that. And that's going to be another place where we take those folks who violate the social contract with no remorse and no indication that they ever are going to be compliant, and we get a lot more serious. And we're seeing that in some of these numbers. All right, I'm going to take it to the next final thing so I can get you guys out of here and we can go to the Civil Service Board can take over. The final point I wanted to make on some activities today that I challenged the chief and his folks to do is in Section B, and that is the public emergency and continuing nuisance declarations and tolerances there. So on this, we had unauthorized uses of residential and commercial properties. If you follow, not many of you will, but what I do is I try to always keep these briefing agendas, they follow a certain train. There's a method to this, right? And so you'll see the main headers will be consistent because there are different pieces we're building out through safe outs and other things we do under each. So you will have seen the unauthorized uses of residential and commercial properties. You will have heard me, council members, talk about the squatter issue and all of that. We have some legislation coming to you about it. This one is also part of that, but it's brand new. And this is identifying certain corridors in the city that have certain challenges that create a real public nuisance. Specifically, the corridor where all the restaurants are from the hotel, the Seagull, all the way down to the Baptist building, that corridor, really from Super One all the way around to there, we have declared to be in emergency need of service. Those businesses need it. We have people walking into medical facilities. We have people doing things I'm not going to describe on here in the bathrooms when when you wouldn't have to do it, needles, those kind of things. There's going to be no tolerance for that. And the motels and hotels that operate there are going to get their act together. And the chief's been on that at the Seagull. Pleasantly happy to see the inside of the Seagull. It looked clean and good. I hate what happened in there, but I get that. But there are other properties there that are absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And the behavior in and around them is absolutely unacceptable. And there is a lot that happened last week, and there's a lot of happy owners that may have called some of you and told you about that, but we consider that, again, a public health crisis as well. So it's not just about, homeless. This is criminal activity on an organized and high level. People doing things over and over. Also, you need to know that we look at all of this holistically. I'm getting the count. I'm not going to give it today, but it's significant how many accidents with people crossing MacArthur that occurs right there, coming from downtown on that walk to go across. How many? There's been some deadly ones, and there's been some non-deadly but very significant ones. So we are looking at that right now. It's no secret. You're going to see our involvement in that corridor everywhere. You're going to hear from those business owners. I do. I was perhaps out there on doing it when it started because of the frustration that I had with seeing people go in a medical facility. I saw it with my own eyes, and so we are reacting to that. How many arrests so far? 14, and that was in about a day and a half or so. It's now the weekend, yes. So that corridor is going to continue to be looked at. There are others, obviously, but where business is meeting folks on going into a restaurant, going into an orthodontist, doing things like that, we cannot have people in that situation. It's untenable, and we're not gonna continue it. So, with that, we are 5 minutes on time. From there, 4:30. We appreciate your time. Yes, sir.
In addition to that, will the push-out park area be included in that corridor?
So good question. Each time I delve into Facebook, it'll unpeel about 6 more, Mr. Barlott, on the onion, and that's fair, right? So Chuck is now asking like the neighborhoods going behind. The focus right now, Councilman, has been on the business corridor itself and what immediately touches it. I am very aware of where you just described having some significant challenges, so we will expect. Is that in your district?
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
Still.
Who is it now? Lizzie? Ms. Felter, we'll expand into that. We did get calls about stuff there, so we'll start fanning out.
Most of the complaints were.
But we can't have a major commercial corridor have people who just reinvested in it start thinking about anything other than that they made a sound investment. There's going to be some displacement, guys. Y'all need to understand how that works. People are going to be moved around, and then they go somewhere else. You're not going to like that always, right? Because they're moved here, and then they go, we're going to then displace that. We're aware of our corporal acts of mercy. We will stay doing this constitutionally and right, but this has to stop. What's happening is not working. Thank you.